Airline denies Black sisters first class, but Dad's call brings the skies to a halt. They thought it was just another flight. But when two Black sisters stepped into first class, the staff made it clear they weren't welcome. Humiliated. In front of everyone, their dignity was ripped away. Until a single phone call from their father flipped the entire story. Within minutes, the skies went silent, and the airline realized they had picked the wrong family to mess with. It started as a day filled with excitement. Two sisters, raised to believe they could achieve anything, were finally boarding the flight they had dreamed of for months. Their father had worked tirelessly to give them this moment. First class, a symbol of dignity and success. With every step toward the boarding gate, they felt the weight of pride, of finally being seen. But beneath the polished smiles of the staff and the quiet chatter of passengers, something darker was waiting. A test they never asked for, one that would expose how quickly respect can be stripped away when prejudice takes control. The moment they reached the gate, everything began to shift. At first it was subtle. The way the attendant's smile faded, the way her eyes narrowed as they handed over their perfectly valid first-class tickets. Then came the pause, the hesitation, the whispered conversation with a colleague just loud enough for nearby passengers to notice. The sisters felt the stares, sharp and unwelcoming, cutting through their excitement. Moments later, their worst fear was confirmed. They were told their seats had been mistakenly assigned, that first class was no longer available. Yet, around them, others, who looked nothing like them, were welcomed into the very section they were being pushed out of. Their protests were met with cold professionalism, a tone laced with quiet disdain. Passengers shifted uncomfortably, some pretending not to notice, others smirking as though the scene confirmed their own hidden prejudices. Each word from the staff stung deeper, an unspoken message that no matter what they paid, no matter what, they achieved. The color of their skin was enough to erase it all. As they stood there, humiliated, the sisters felt anger rise, but also fear. Should they keep fighting, or walk away quietly, like so many before them? Every second stretched like an eternity, the injustice growing heavier with each passing glance. What they didn't know was that their father, watching from afar, was about to make a decision that would change the entire flight and force the airline to face consequences they never imagined. The humiliation had reached its breaking point. The sisters stood in front of dozens of strangers, their dignity stripped away by an airline that refused to see them as equals. Every word from the staff was another wound, firm, dismissive, final. But just when it seemed their voices would be silenced, a phone rang. Their father, a man of quiet power and unshakable influence, had been watching from the sidelines, and with one call, he unleashed a storm the airline never saw coming. Within minutes, the atmosphere shifted. Staff members who once smirked now whispered nervously, their confidence collapsing under the weight of something bigger than them. Overhead, announcements crackled, flights delayed, confusion spreading through the airport like wildfire. The same. Passengers who had looked away now stared in disbelief. The sisters, once humiliated, became the center of a spectacle they never asked for, but one that forced the world to pay attention. The system that tried to push them down was suddenly frozen in place, powerless. And as the realization spread, through the crowd, one question hung heavy in the air. Who exactly was their father, and how could a single call bring the skies to a halt? When the chaos finally settled, the sisters were no longer invisible. The airline, once so quick to dismiss them, was forced to acknowledge its mistake, not out of kindness, but out of fear of the storm their father had unleashed. Yet even in victory, the sisters felt the weight of the moment. Because this wasn't just about seats on a plane. It was about every closed door, every whispered insult, every time someone decided their worth could be measured by the color of their skin. They walked away that day with their heads high, not because the system had changed, but because they refused to let it define them. Their story became more than an inconvenience for an airline. It became a reminder of the silent battles fought. Every single day, battles that often never make headlines. And so the question remains, how many more families must endure humiliation before justice is more than just a reaction, before equality is more than just a word? Their father's call may have stopped the skies for a moment, but the real call is to us. Will we keep ignoring the injustice in plain sight, or will we finally take a stand? Like and subscribe.